What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about loot priority tips for phase 1. I thought about doing a full phase 1 loot priority video, but that would just end up being 3 to 6 hours going through every single item in all of phase 1, and I genuinely didn't think it was worth it. I think phase 1 is pretty straightforward, and I think everything that you would get from a video that length, you can get from a video that's super short and sweet like this. I'm going to tell you everything that you really should know about maybe some big ticket items or just like loot philosophy things for phase 1, and some of this even translates to all of Wrath. So let's jump right into it with the first tip. Dying Curse priority. Now, this is going to be one of the most contested items in phase 1. Genuinely, you can't go wrong here. Every caster is going to want this. Personally, I just wanted to throw out there that Demonology Warlock is a great choice for this. As we all know, Demonology Warlock is going to get funneled pretty much every item that they want in the first place. But what's really particularly nice about Dying Curse on a Demo lock early is that means that they can stop going for hit with talents. They can stop going for hit with other pieces of their gear. That 71 hit rating helps their loot and helps them build out their characters so much better that they're actually buffing their raid with more spell power, not just from the spell power proc on Dying Curse. So Dying Curse is a huge quality of life help on top of a massive personal DPS gain on top of a raid DPS gain for you. So I really do think Dying Curse priority should go to your Demonology Warlock first, and then you can worry about every other caster after that. Speaking of Dying Curse, I just wanted to address the spellhance stuff. People have been talking to me a lot about like getting annoyed that spellhance is going to compete with caster loot for them. And yeah, I mean, if Dying Curse is on their BIS list, then it's on their BIS list. And I'm just tired of hearing people whine about that. Like, spellhance is gonna want caster gear. Like, that's just how it works. If it's BIS, it's BIS. Like, get over it. They're basically just another caster in a lot of ways. So if it's BIS for them, then give it to them for sure. If it's not BIS for them and it's BIS for someone else, then okay, of course, prioritize another caster. If they have another option that is going to be really close in value, then sure, prioritize a different caster over a spellhance. But for most of the cases, when a spellhance is going for a caster item, it's because it's genuinely their best in slot for the phase. Like, I'm tired of y'all like trashing on spellhance just because they want caster loot. Like, that's just how it works in Wrath. You need to get over yourself. In terms of Wraith Strike, don't give this to anyone else except for the spellhance. I know that Boomkins can wear fist weapons, and they will get a lot of spell power haste crit from this, but this is a massive item for spellhance phase 1. This has like spellhance written all over it, and please never give a Wraith Strike to anyone other than an enhanced shaman in phase 1. Third tip. So I want to talk about tier real quick. First of all, let's celebrate because tier is actually really obtainable in phase 1. Everything except for your headpiece, of course. You can get tier from emblems. You can get a full 4-piece from emblems, in fact. You can get 80 emblems of heroism together to get your chest. This is, of course, going to be your 200 eye level chest. 60 for your gloves. And then you can get 60 Valor for your T7.5 shoulders and 75 for your T7.5 legs. This is a full 4-piece tier set that you could obtain just from emblems alone. So in terms of tier distribution, if you don't receive a tier item in a Nax run, look, you gotta pick and choose your battles. That is not a big deal. You will obtain your 4-piece relatively quickly. On top of not only that, can you obtain all of these from emblems, you can get all of them from VOA as well. Well, your chest, legs, and gloves from VOA. So that's just another way that you're obtaining tier. So the only contested tier items really are your headpieces. And a lot of classes don't even use the tier headpiece. That's their off-piece slot. So tier, especially in phase 1, is amazing. Gone are the days of this being one of the most dramatic pieces for a loot council to distribute. Y'all should really like celebrate that tier is finally going to be 1, accessible, and 2, like far less drama. In terms of who should be receiving tier first, I just want to personally throw out there that I love prioritizing my off-spec boys with tier, especially early on in Nax if I'm giving it out. So that's like my off tanks, maybe like the guy who's doing the 3rd tanking on Patchwork, or just your off tank in general, or even like your 5th or 4th healers, the ones who are going to be DPSing a lot of phase 1. This helps them out a lot because otherwise they're going to have to be spending double the amount of tier with their emblems, and giving them the tier tokens early just really makes everything feel a lot more fair, since they are playing essentially 2 specs in a raid environment. That's my 2 cents on tier. I'm really glad that we have Wrath tier loot because it is just so much better. Let's talk about Journey's End, and this is specifically for all Feral and Hunter contested BIS weapons for the entirety of Wrath. Every time that you run into a situation where you see Journey's End drop or a new best in slot weapon that's both best in slot for Feral and Hunter, you will always prioritize your Feral on this. You always prioritize your Feral. The reason be because Feral have this hidden attack power buff on every single weapon now that says increases the attack power by X amount in Cat, Bear, Dire Bear, and Moonkin forms only. There's a hidden Feral attack power buff that's on every single weapon, and Ferals get predatory strikes, which means every single weapon that they equip also gains an extra 20% attack power. So it's a huge attack power gain every time a Feral is getting their best in slot weapon or just a weapon upgrade in general. So giving that stat stick to, say, a Hunter, for example, would be like giving a crossbow or bow or gun to a warrior over a Hunter. It just don't do it. You give your stabs and your polearm bis to your Ferals early on, and you give them to your Hunters later. Next up, let's talk about Torch. Now, Torch, of course, you see this, and this is your MP5 item with haste and spell power. Your best in slot for pretty much all of your healers in Phase 1. But we need to talk about your casters, because this is also best in slot for your Boomkins, your Elisham, and your Shadow Priests. So do not forget about those guys. Torch is actually one of the most contested items in all of Phase 1, considering it's Disc Priest Bis, Holy Priest, Resto Druid, Resto Shaman. Your Holy Paladins can use it as their bis. Like, this is a really contested item, but just don't forget your casters. It says MP5 on it, I know, but this is also Boomkin, Ellie, and Shadow Priest bis, and they really want this item going into Ulduar progression, so don't forget them. This is a tough one to make a decision on, so best of luck out there to you Loot Council boys. Speaking of healer stuff, if you are the healer who is first in line for Valanyr, that probably means you should be last in line for any weapon upgrades in Phase 1. Typically, this is going to be like your Holy Paladin, for example. If you're a Holy Paladin in Phase 1, you need to be comfortable with just using something like Life and Death as your Phase 1 bis. Unless you just get super lucky and you see a lot of Turning Tides drop, or you see a lot of Torches drop, or something like that, you're probably not going to have your best in slot weapon going into Ulduar. That's just how it works, because Warlocks and Mages and all the other casters are going to be competing for a lot of the same weapon upgrades as you. So if you are the first in line for Valanyr, just prepare to take the back seat for pretty much any weapon upgrade in Naxxramas. Let's talk about the Saffron quest item neck. This is the quest item that drops off Saffron every time you kill him in both 10 and 25. Speaking of the 25-man version, you take this quest item, you go into EOE, and you get these awesome Ulduar eye level neck pieces. You have the hit, haste, spell power neck, you have the armor pin one, then you have the MP5 one and block one. My tip here is never give these to a tank or healer, ever. The Wormrest Necklace of Power is massive on a Warlock, for example. Favor the Dragon Queen is going to be massive on pretty much all of your melee, especially like a Feral Druid early on. So Feral Druids and Warlocks really should be prioritized on the Saffron quest neck. And just never give this to a tank or healer. Hell, I mean, your tanks have a tank neck that drops off of KT 25-man that is really good, that no one could use anyway. So this is just really not worth it to give ever to a healer or a tank. Definitely want to prioritize your DPS here. Let's talk about OS. So there's a lot of really good loot that comes from Obsidian Sanctum. And I know a lot of you are going to be wanting to do Obsidian Sanctum 3 Drake. One, because it's a little fun. It's been hyped up to be the hardest encounter of the phase. And of course, there's really good loot. There's a title, there's a mount that comes from OS 3D. But truth be told, after you've done OS 3D a couple times, it's kind of over. The mount is just a mount. The title is just a one-time thing. And you get all of the same loot just from doing OS 2D. So if you can split run Obsidian Sanctum, this might be the one thing that you'd want to split run in phase 1. Of course, if you can split run Nax and EOE as well, go for it. But I think this is just like the easiest thing to split run, the worst headache of all to burden yourself with, because you could probably do Obsidian Sanctum 25-man 2 Drake with, let's say, 15 people, 18 people. If you can manage doing split runs for OS2D 25-man, that means you're all the more likely to obtain illustration of the Dragon Soul, for example, on all of your casters and healers who want it. There's a lot of good loot. I'm only displaying illustration here on the screen because this is probably the biggest item out of OS. So if you can, I would definitely recommend you split run OS. It's genuinely the only thing that's like worth the headache for in all of phase 1. Talking about EOE loot. Now, EOE drops a ton of really good loot. It really does. EOE loot is amazing. Its eye level is 226. It's phenomenal. My tip here is don't disenchant any of it. You might see some of this loot, like living ice crystals, for example, or blanketing robes of snow, and lots of other loot that I didn't even display here. A lot of it's crap, and just either gets used by one person and then never again, or doesn't get used by like anyone at all. My tip for you is don't disenchant it. This high item level loot actually helps you for Flame Leviathan hard mode. When you do Flame Leviathan and you jump in your vehicles in Ulduar, they scale up based on your average item level. So if you can obtain more and more and more EOE 25-man loot and throw more of this gear on, just for a Flame Leviathan set, it just makes that fight that much easier. And sure, Flame Leviathan isn't all that hard in Ulduar, but the easier you can make it week 1, the easier it'll be every week after, because you're going to be gaining more and more eye level in Ulduar anyway. So don't disenchant this stuff. You can always disenchant it later, and you'll have plenty of other ways to get Abyss Crystals in phase 1, so don't sweat it. And lastly, my last tip is don't let loot drama get out of hand in phase 1. Look, phase 1 is easy. Like we've been seeing on the beta, it's pretty face roll. It's just as expected. The last thing you want is for people to get too caught up in like some parse culture in phase 1, because parsing in phase 1 is just going to be kind of cringe. There's no way you're going to have enough time to have bloodlust on every single fight. There's no way that you're going to parse on Obsidian Sanctum 2 Drake if you're split running it with 15 to 18 to 20 people. It's just not worth it, guys, truthfully. Look, I'm a huge parse head. I want to parse in phase 1 as much as I possibly can. Trust me, guys, I'm right there with you. But getting really, really upset about some like random loot decision, some random week of phase 1 is just not worth it. You have plenty of time to get your full bis before Ulduar. Just hang tight, guys. Really, I don't think that any of the drama that could possibly come out of phase 1 loot drama is really ever going to get you anywhere in life. It is a terrible decision, and this is a tip that you could take for the entirety of the expansion, but just truth be told, like, phase 1 is just not worth it. It won't be a super exciting parse or speed running phase. I think a lot of guilds will end up just split running all of Nax and OS and EOE just to get, you know, as the full bis that they can before Ulduar. So just take your time, enjoy the phase, level up alts, go for achievement runs, do all that stuff. Get the loot that you can, try to make good loot decisions, but just don't get too caught up in the drama. And that's it, boys. Thanks so much for watching. I want to keep this video short and sweet because I want to avoid doing the 3-hour, 4-hour runoff of every single loot item in phase 1. I hope you learned all that you could from this video. Take this video and share it with your loot council and the rest of your guild if you want to have a little bit more knowledge going into phase 1 loot. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Please leave a like, comment, or subscribe down below. You genuinely have no idea how much that kind of stuff helps me grow the channel and just put out more videos like this. So thanks so much, guys. Peace.